Hi, I'm Dr. Randy Doom, and today we're here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at a local golf resort, and with me is Mark Albini, a local golfer here, and today we're going to discuss some of the problems that afflict famous golfers of recent years. And I'm going to let Mark go ahead and start the discussion and describe those injuries, and I'm going to explain the biomechanics and what has resulted as a result of those. So Mark, go ahead.
All right. Well, previously I did discuss David Duval and the injury that he had to his wrist, and I hope you all saw that segment. But the number one player in the world that took his position and has held it for a long time, Tiger Woods, is going to be the next person of discussion. He's one of my favorite golfers to watch on television. He's probably shown me greater moments in the game of golf than any other player, and I'm a fan of Jack and Arnie and some of the old boys too, and some of the new ones. Dustin Johnson, a local golfer here from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, is also one of my favorite. But we're going to talk about Tiger's injury. This all kind of started, about 8 years ago, when Dr. Randy Doom called me on the phone and said, "Did you see that fan that stepped on his foot? That's going to cause him problems in the future." And sure enough, it wasn't too long after that we saw him holding his back out there at Pebble and acting like he was in some serious pain. Doc, what would you say actually occurred that day that clumsy fan had stepped on Tiger's foot?
Well, what initially happened was when he stepped on Tiger's foot, it actually repositioned a sesamoid bone here referred to as the patella. Now, the body will adapt and compensate, and it did, but shortly thereafter, he developed some serious back problems. Well, they rehabbed that, but in the process, his hip then became fixated in the wrong position. And then over time, he ended up having to have knee surgery, which they did, and he rehabbed that. Well, following that, last year, he broke then 2 bones in the leg from the repetitive torquing that took place on his golf swing, which was very high in the rotation. So what you see here is an example of a system distortion that ended up resulting in a terrible inability to swing through his normal golf swing, and now he's tried different golf coaches, but he cannot seem to practice his way out of this problem because he's stuck in a bad position and he can no longer make the swing the way he feels. He feels like he's making a good swing, but in actuality he's not, and the ball is going all over the place, and as a result of that, he hasn't won a tournament in a year. So, Mark?
Well, I think what you're saying there is correct. There's a lot of things that actually fed into his position in the golf world today. First of all, being out of the golf game for a little while, your game does get rusty, and like he said, he can't practice his way out of this. He might be able to practice his way out of it if he was biomechanically reset. The point of this entire segment is to show how one injury from the waist down can affect everything from the waist up. He now has a miss. For a long time, the miss was dead right. In fact, he would hit many golf shots where he looked up and he said, "Oh my God, how did the ball get that far offline?" And he plays with fellas that hit the ball so much straighter than him. He's just so talented, he's still able to compete with these fellas even when he hits these bad shots. But what we're going to talk about is the correction to his knee. Dr. Randy Doom is going to tell you what he would do to correct both the knee and the shoulder. And of course that will eliminate the neck pain that he's been going through. Doc, what would you do to correct the knee?
Well, essentially what it would involve 2 things. The first would be I'd reposition the patella, the sesamoid bone I was referring to earlier, and then possibly the fibular head, which lies on the outside here. And because he ended up having that surgery, I'm sure this fibular head is malpositioned now. So that would be the first thing I would do to correct the knee. Now, I would also probably take a look at his ankle, because I believe there's a very good possibility that his ankle was slightly torqued from that fan stepping on it, and that would be contributing to the whole mechanism here. And then I would go up, and one of the things I've really noticed is the inability of this right hip to move correctly through the ball, and that's really thrown him off, and that's what facilitated the scapular and the neck problem that nobody could figure out. So you'd have to address all these areas, to get him back to his top flight golf game, which is never going to come back unless he actually addresses, because he can't exercise and he can't practice his way out of it. He's already proved that by doing it for a year with no results.